to go along and say that one of those sounds that really just sounds the best is that ooh woo kind of sound.
Ooh, woo.
Yeah.
For
Anyway,
Wendy. Shout out to
what's
Wendy.
up, everybody, and welcome back to a fantastic additional episode of Who What Now Gaming podcast for consumers by consumers, where we ask the questions: Who are you? What got you into gaming? And what type of gamer are you now? I am your humble host, Josh Stewart, and today, reoccurring for the third time, we got Tom. What's up, Tom?
Nothing. I'm so excited to be back. I say nothing, but, my endorphin levels are up right now because of this show.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I'm pretty excited for this one. I feel like maybe we can actually, hit some of those subjects that we keep saying we're gonna hit, but you never really know.
We're going to do our best to stay on track.
Maybe this will just be our pattern. We'll keep bringing up subjects and then not talking about them, so that we just have to do an additional part every time.
You know what? I think that these episodes are us charging our spirit bombs.
Ooh, I like it.
Just the whole time.
R.I.P. Goku. Have you caught up on that show yet?
No, not even close.
Oh my god, brother!
So, I still haven't even doven. I did back into The Witcher 3. Owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. No, I still haven't gone back to Witcher 3. I haven't played a ton of video games recently. Man, I've been thinking about the show a lot though.
Of Dragon Ball Z?
No, this this show gaming podcast.
Don't do that.
Sorry, fourth wall break. Where are we?
Dude, well, have you watched the Netflix Witcher series yet?
Not season 3.
Yeah.
Only seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah, I actually have not gone into season 3 yet. Because is season 3 still Henry Cavill?
I think that it is his last season. Yeah.
Well, I think the show is done.
Oh, see, I thought that they were filming with one of the Hemsworths.
Well, they were supposed to.
Oh.
I could be wrong. Future. The last that I saw was that they wanted to do one of the Hemsworth brothers, and then it destroyed the community so bad that they were like, "We're just gonna
end it."
Yeah, we're just not doing this.
Man, that's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather known that there was more coming out with, it's Liam Hemsworth. Is that the younger one's name?
I think so. The one that did like Hunger Games, I think is the one.
Yeah, it was. I'm still excited to watch Witcher 3. I'm like partway through the third book. I haven't ever like finished the series.
With Dandelion.
Yeah, this one it's back to Dandelion.
Dandelion.
Or maybe it's Dandelion. I remember second book it was Dandelion.
Yeah, who knows? It jumps all over the place.
It's fine.
Still fantastic book though. Or all the series itself.
Yeah.
Genuinely still I think one of my favorites. Like
well,
it's so brilliantly told and written, and I think that the likeness of Geralt is truly like the like unspoken hero. Even though, he does speak, but
not much.
Yeah, it's just very direct and like low toned, and it gives you that like, oh, I'm safe, but somebody's gonna bleed.
I really liked how seasons 1 and 2 there was a lot of jumping, and I understand that there was a lot of complaining about the timeline jumps. I watched season 1 and then I started reading the books, and I got through the second book before season 2 even came out. And so rewatching season 1 and then watching season 2, it was like, oh, this is great. And then the guy that is the big boar, it's the same guy that plays Tormund Giantsbane.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So good.
Man, well, and that story in the books was just even more fucked.
Yes.
And it was already pretty, dramatic in the show, and they did a great job. They also made a great job of, it's a little more marketable the way that they put it on Netflix.
They do bring it back a little bit. He does in the books. the boar fella is basically under a curse, like, you know, Beauty and the Beast style, and but his reasoning was not like the Beast of Disney, where he was just really mean to an old lady. Like,
I mean, he
like
was pretty mean.
he was mean to somebody else, and it is not a good thing.
Yeah,
But it's his curse is much deserved, if not maybe a little light.
very much so. I like that's well put. In the show, the big reveal is, is something that you learn early in the book, and then the big reveal, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it on the podcast, like the real like nitty gritty of his deal.
No, if you want to find out, it's not pretty, but go, you know, check it out. Go read the books.
Yeah,
It truly is. The books are absolutely fantastic.
and if you read them yourself, you can call him Dandelion the whole time.
100%. But if you don't like to read,
Yeah, it's tough, and if you spend a lot of time in a
yeah,
car,
yeah,
why not? You can't read and drive at the same time, or
challenge accepted.
I bet a lot of people do it.
Yeah,
I swear that I see people all the time that are just. Anyway, I'm not going to go
yeah.
down that rabbit hole.
Well, the thing that kind of threw me off though for the show, was that in the show, by the time that you get to that mansion and you meet the boar guy, I wish I could remember his name.
Yeah,
But
I forget.
when you get there in the books, Geralt is by himself, and he is visiting, like, I think he's like an old friend, or he is somebody he used to know or something.
I think he was traveling,
Yeah,
and then he like was told about something along his path,
yeah.
and then he goes and seeks it out, and it's like it's his first time meeting the guy in the books, whereas in
In
the
the
show,
show, he's like an old family
old
friend of
friend,
the Witcher, like, people,
the community, the
communities.
greater Witcher
But the thing
community.
that drove me crazy was when I was watching the show, because I read the books first. So when I watched the show, um, uh, the swallow, what the hell's
Siri,
it? Yeah, Siri.
Cirilla.
Siri was with him,
Yeah,
and I'm like, no,
it fit with the timeline
it fit with the timeline of the
of the show.
show,
Yeah,
but in the books, we haven't even crossed paths yet.
yeah.
In fact, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I don't even know if the no, the deal had been made already, but for those who don't know what we're talking about, Geralt in the timeline is kind of all jumpy, topsy turvy. But when Geralt makes one of his first deals, early in his life, but still like out on his own as a Witcher, he finds himself in a kingdom, and he helps a queen out with basically a job. And in honor of this, she requires him to stay at this, like, party as her bodyguard. And so he doesn't want to do it, but he does it anyway. And I think it might be like this first time, like, running into Dandelion, but I could be wrong. But he basically finds a point where somebody runs in claiming that he is or this mysterious figure gets to marry the queen's daughter, and
By the law of
by
surprise.
law of surprise, which is basically like, if you have absolutely nothing to your name or nothing of value that is equivalent to the reward that should happen for, like, saving a life, you can present the law of surprise, which is that later in life, when you have something of value, you can claim it and you can't refuse.
Yeah,
Doing so, basically, a deal is struck, and Geralt takes the law of surprise, and doesn't realize until much, much later that that surprise is a child.
yeah.
And
Well, and everybody immediately assumes that it's going to be his child bride.
right,
But, I really enjoy that Geralt is not like that, and that
yeah.
he is going for more of like a father, a reluctant
Well,
father figure.
and I think I think it speaks a lot about Geralt, because the Witchers, when you become a Witcher, you no longer have the ability to produce heirs. so you cannot have kids.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about
So
that.
when the only way a Witcher is created is by kidnapping or by gaining a child through law of surprise. And then the process of becoming a Witcher is gruesome and torturous and horrible and stuff, and that's why like all these Witchers are so like grizzled and angry and
Savage.
yeah, absolutely. And so like the process is like, I mean, you're left out to like fend for yourself. You go through like starvation, rigorous like training exercises, and then you get like chemicals basically burned into your eyes and down your throat and stuff to like make you immune to certain things and stronger to other things, and
Oh
which
yeah,
is why your hair goes completely white and your eyes get cat like. And so it's this like potion abuse kind of thing, but eventually you become this like honed killer that society just hates.
it makes me think of like imagine if a Spartan like back in like
Mm-hmm.
Greece and Sparta days if a Spartan also was Bane.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's that. Yeah, dead on.
I was pretty proud that I like just thought of that on the
Yeah.
spot.
Well, and then there's like other Witcher factions. So like Geralt is part of the Wolf pack, and then you have like what are they like? There's like a snake one, a cat one, and like they explain a lot of them like in the games and stuff. But a lot of them are kind of dying out, and because there's as we progress through time, there's less and less like monsters. Civilization is kind of growing, and so there's not a whole lot that are needed for Witchers. So, but I mean, it's a fantastic series. Anybody like listening, watching, like please go check that out. It is so good, so good. Show pretty good, but the books are phenomenal.
I've heard nothing but good things about the game. The third game specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard good things about Witcher 2 as well.
Third game is so good, dude.
I
It's it.
I
I wish that they would oh, like just remaster it in a way to make it look more beautiful. Would literally be my only concern or
just
my
like a
only
new
my only thing.
texture update.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just to make it visually more appealing, but don't change the game. The game is so good and so well like thought out, and it's one of those ones where you really have to know, you have to think. It's not a game where you can just go figure out things in the moment. Like it encourages you to be better at being a Witcher. So if you are going to find a griffin or something, and there's a griffin that is terrorizing the town. I think it's like one of your first missions
I
in the
think it
third
is
game.
the first
Yeah.
mission. It's the only one that I've done
Oh, really?
in The Witcher 3. I only played up to the point of where you like meet and are like riding with Yennefer.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning.
So yes, so the game encourages you to learn about the monsters you're hunting, because not only is it like really cool for the story itself, but there are potions and concoctions that will give you boosts to this damage that maybe is that beast is vulnerable to, or it'll give you resistances that maybe that monster puts out a lot. And if you just go in completely blind, you get wrecked 100% of the time.
It's a game in canon. A Witcher would do research.
Yes.
And so you need to become, even as the player yourself, you need to do research, even if it's like, in game. And I wanted to use this as a bit of segue because we were talking about D&D,
Yeah.
and I think that research is a big part about D&D. And like it reminds me of that. It's also I think of D&D research as something that a lot of people would do on their own. And
Hmm.
so like, have you ever had a moment when you were playing, because I've never had this, where I've looked ahead at like the monster manual or whatever, and you've come across like a monster that you know something about and you know that it has a weakness and you could get to like exploit that. Have you ever had one of those moments while playing D&D?
I think the issue is that I'm normally the forever DM.
Oh yeah, I
So I do have a lot of knowledge on the like the monsters and the monster manuals and stuff, but I when I do get a chance to play, I usually play dumb. So like I pretend like I won't know what that is unless like situationally. Like if we're like a really high level or there's like a reason for my backstory to have like known about certain things, I will usually just like role play as someone who doesn't maybe know what the weakness would be. And then but I do know enough as a player and as a DM to find out those things so that it's more justified and less like metagamey. Because I think what becomes a problem, well, not really necessarily a problem, but more like a hazard, I guess, like a caution, like be careful when you do it kind of thing, is metagaming, because metagaming can be really really fun, but metagaming can also be really destructive to a campaign, in a sense that like it is a game and we're all sitting around having fun. But DMs, the job of being a DM is basically like the same amount of work that you would have for like a part-time job. So it's when like I DM, I spend, like we have a game every 2 weeks. So I will spend a good portion of my weekends just kind of like figuring things out. And then the week or a couple days before the game, I will solidify everything and put it into where it needs to be. But when you get to points like I think I told this before on the podcast that we had a game, like years ago, where I spent like a week straight just building this like course after course after course of like each one of the like stat traits, like strength, dexterity, like constitution, like all that stuff. And then we got to like a dexterity like challenge, and I basically came up with a design of a room where every time you would step on like these like pillars that were, it would kind of just like, if you fell, you'd fall into like a black abyss, kind of
Oh,
thing. So you had to like stand on them, and each one of them moved in a certain direction, and some would react with other people on other things. And so like I came up with, it took hours to figure out the mechanic of this room. And because I was so hyper focused on the mechanics of that room, when we got to that room, one of my players summoned, basically like a big hornet or something like that, and they all just flew across it. And I was like, "Oh, what the fuck, man! Like I spent hours doing this."
all this
And it was like,
work.
yeah, and I was like, "Well, I guess we'll move
I
on
guess
to the
fuck
next."
me then.
Yeah, because I'll go fuck myself.
Well, and so it's you as a DM. It seems like that would be disappointing that you didn't even get to utilize that. Like
Hmm.
it's almost it's not wasted time. Time spent having fun is not time wasted. But this is it's an instance where your players, they're probably so happy that they didn't
Yeah,
have to like worry about falling into an abyss
yeah. I
forever and ever.
I like to think sometimes that I plan for everything, in my games, and that there's no way that somebody can like stump me for something that I didn't plan for. And my ability to improv in those games are really really good. Like I pride myself on those,
Yeah. Well,
and
and
being
that's
able to like
something
think on my feet.
you learned, probably through practice.
100%. I have destroyed games. I have ruined games. I have broken characters before. Like it is a trial and error, but I know what I can and cannot get away with and stuff. And so, but I've done this for years, so it's not like it's not something that I like. It just kind of came out of my ass. It's like I'm it practice.
Yep.
But I don't even remember where I was going with it, to be honest
What
with you.
what are some other you had some other D&D questions for me, and I
Yeah, so I was actually talking with the wife, about, so I tried, I love D&D, and I tried getting my wife into D&D, and because I thought, this would be a fun thing to like kind of share, kind of thing. She is not a D&D person, which is fine. I Years ago, I just wanted her to try it just to see, you know, if I could change her mind. She gave it a go, and I think I did my best to do so. But doing that brought up some like like she no longer wanted to play the game. Like it was once and done. That was it. So when I was talking to her, I was like, "What about D&D kind of pushed you away? Like, what about it didn't you like? Because I love it so much, I can't fathom somebody not liking it. You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
So I wrote down just like a couple things. Like she had mentioned that the amount of things that you have to remember is gets to be a problem, and excuse me, I totally understand that. D&D is filled with so many things to remember. Um, and then the understanding like the rules of the game, I threw her right into the game.
Okay.
So she never got a chance to like sit down, watch some videos, read the book, understand like core mechanics and stuff. And then after so, she has no interest in playing the game. So if I were to have changed her mind, I think I would have told her that maybe like driving in the car, throw a YouTube video up. Like say you're making a character and you're, I don't know, like a fighter, like an Eldritch Knight. All right, so you're someone who can swing a sword, and you're someone who can also like cast low level spells, but not like some of them are really really decent. Um, and I would say like go on YouTube and just type in like D&D 5e or whatever TTRPG you're playing, and then type in the class that you've built, or in my case it was the class that I built, for her, and I would say like hey, um, just type that into YouTube and then be like, how do I play this character? And there are so many like amazing sources that will teach you how to play your character really well, actually. And like being able to use or utilize like actions, bonus actions, and movement speeds to your advantage is going to be your biggest like key kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Uh, Unfortunately, she doesn't have an interest in it anymore, but that does kind of make me think. So we've played a couple times, and it's been mentioned before that you played before our friend Noah. When you started, what was the hardest thing to like grasp about D&D?
Honestly, it was well, and so when I first started, I mean, YouTube existed, but I never would have thought to go onto YouTube, and there definitely wouldn't have been nearly as many sources
Mm-hmm.
to how to play this character. And so when I first started playing, it was I played with, I think the first time I ever played, it was with my college girlfriend's brother and some of his friends, and I just like it was one of those times where I just jumped into it, and I knew it's a lot about role playing, and I treated it like a video game that the controller is just your voice, like you
Yeah.
tell people what you're gonna do.
Right.
It reminds me of like old text based video games. Turn north, like
Yeah.
in and in that moment I realized that like I would enjoy this and that I wanted to learn more. And so uh honestly, I think the first time I played, I think it was the original D&D, and I think that 4E was out at the time, but they like actively didn't want to play 4E. They were like purists, and that like the original D&D is the best way to
Right.
play. And so honestly with that one I didn't dive super deep. But then I started playing with my fraternity brothers, and I got to do more research.
Oh,
And
frat bro.
I saw
I
it.
saw it.
No, Kappa Sigma. Uh,
Nice.
one of my
I
brothers.
didn't go to college.
Proud of you. It's not for everybody. Um, one of my fraternity brothers had played. He was an older guy.
Yeah.
We're all 21, 22, and he's in his mid 30s, and he's just living it up in a frat house, teaching us how to play D&D in the
Nice.
basement. And so it was a lot of fun.
It's
And
always a basement.
it is, it works out too. But so when I first started playing, I did the amount of research I had to for my character. I also stuck with pretty much one character, so that was
Yeah.
much less for me to have to try to remember. Um, It
Like
was
one character, like every time you played, or like one class?
one every time. Like if we ever did different campaigns, I wouldn't be the same character, quote unquote,
Oh, you just
but I was always,
renamed it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Legolas, Schmlegolas,
Schmeglis.
Flegolas,
Schwanathan.
Schmangela, and Schmonathan. um but yeah, I was an elf and I was an archer, like, ranger. Sometimes it it would all be the same. But so now,
Variations of the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now, with when we all got together and we played that one campaign, I knew that I wanted to be a magic user. It was the first time I would ever be like a real legitimate spellcaster, and no idea how to play sorcerer. And I had the handbook, and I read the handbook, and I'm like, you know what? I still don't really know about capabilities, and so I did some research. But it was something that I went out of my way to do that research, and I put a little bit of my own time in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's also something, because it's a tabletop game, and at least in this sense, the tabletop game, I love the pen and paper bit about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I will take notes and write down things. Like, you asked me like the hardest thing to remember,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, the hardest thing for me to remember is what I should and shouldn't write down, because
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like slogged, like
Yeah.
just too much notes, too much notes.
Too much notes.
And other times I don't write down enough, and then I'm trying to remember, like, oh, I
Yeah.
have all these abilities, and I should have, in this instance, I should have written down more details.
I've done that before, where I'll take notes and I'll try to like shorthand it. Um, and that ends up like coming back and biting me in the ass, because like I will like legitimately write down. So we had a game, even as a DM, I'll write down the notes and be like, what the fuck does this mean? We had a game, where I could not. I made a princess, and for some reason, I don't know what I was doing. I think the focus wasn't at the time around the princess, so I didn't think to name her for some reason. Like I don't know why. I just legitimately didn't, name her at all. So while we were playing, the question came back with, well, I asked her her name, and I go, oh shit. So I was like trying to think of like princesses and stuff, and I don't want to be like Princess Peach or like Zelda, So like I couldn't think of anything. So I immediately, like, this thing comes up in my head, and I go Princess Buttercup, from A Princess Bride. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
like Buttercup, and then I was like, I need to put this in my notes. So I made a note on the other one. I put PR but BUTT. So then I was like, I'll remember this, right? The next session we came back and we're like, okay, it was like we had to skip a week or something. It'd been like a month or something. Like it was just like everything kept like working against us. Somebody would, get injured, somebody got sick, something else happened, work got in the way or something. So we came back, I want to say it was like a month later, maybe like 2 months or something, and we're all sitting at the at downstairs. I have this island, so I'd like set up on the island on like my kitchen side, and then I'd move the big table on the other side, so everybody had this whole table, and then I basically utilized the whole island, and that was like my thing.
Wow.
So I had all my notes laid out, and we're like, let's do a recap. What did we do? And I go, guys, I'm gonna be real honest, I got PR butt right here, and I have no idea what it means. I am completely for a loss of words. I have no idea. And it was like, honestly, it was like halfway through the session before somebody goes, Princess Buttercup. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it was. But I was like, yeah, taking notes is so difficult, because sometimes like you think, oh, this easy note's going to be something I'll remember immediately. And then you end up like talking to the rest of your party members being like, I have no idea what this means at all, and like
Your
somebody help me.
your
Or
public resources,
yeah, or like as a DM, some of the struggles is how obvious do you get with information. So like so we've got a really fun one going on right now, where I drop some hints. We have a campaign that takes place in the Nine Hells, and this is like my artistic rendition of an alternate D&D reality, where like the Nine Hells are not just like a realm you can just get to, you know.
Okay.
It's more of like it's a plane of existence that is blocked off to those who have souls. So like when you die, like the idea is that like you become soulless kind of thing. It's just like it's my in-game way of saying that you can't get back, because I want the whole campaign to take place in the nine hells.
Okay.
So in doing so, I drop like hints to like, future things, some twists that are going to happen later down the line and everything. And sometimes I'm like, I didn't see anybody write anything down. So I'm like, do I bring this up again later? But I was like, we'll feel it out. We'll see what happens, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I've tried a couple of things where I will play like certain songs that will, in the lyrics, weirdly have like way too much to do with what we're doing. But as a song, like you don't think of it. You think of it as just like the ambiance in the background. And so then I'll be like, let's make sure we listen to the song, kind of thing. And then we'll get goofy, or like I think at one point I had to take a bathroom break, and so like when we get to something later, and they're like, didn't see that coming, and I go, oh, it was in the song, and they're like, what song? And I go, that's on me, my bad, I should. So I think my like future, I think maybe I'll like, maybe that the preemptive stuff, like maybe not playing the music in the background, being like, I'll send it to like my players and be like, hey, this is what you're hearing, take a look at it on your own leisure, kind of thing,
Oh, that's
kind
a
of
good
thing.
idea.
But what the reason I bring it up is because like, even though like I've been playing D&D for years, I feel like every group that I join up with and stuff only benefits, this is going to sound super selfish, but like it only benefits me in a cool way, for like to me, because I'm learning more things about the like my style of DMing, or my ability to be a player. um Noah, I'm not going to say it on here in case nobody, like the Noah's running like a parallel universe game.
Okay.
So he's got two groups that he's playing it for. Like one is with like the friend family, and then one's with like the family. And so we're running a parallel game, and so we got to something that I don't know if they got to yet. So I won't say what it was, but it was probably the first time in a very long time as a player that I was like, "Oh, I did not see that coming. You got me. Like you nailed that. You actually, you hit me with a twist that I did not see coming. You got me. Like, well done.
Good
Absolute, bravo."
good gaming moments. 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And those are the things that I feel like sometimes you miss as a DM. You don't get those, like,
You
because
don't
like,
have the aha
yeah,
moments. You're
I
trying to
know everything that's going to happen,
Yeah.
Like,
It also a harder part of D&D for me, I think, is actually really getting into the role playing.
yeah.
I think that the role play is what I lack. It's where I lack the most. Like as a D&D player, I've never tried to be a dungeon master. I honestly, I don't know if I would even be into it. I
Hmm.
feel like the player role is the role for me. And so, we always put a bit of ourselves into our characters.
Oh yeah, every time.
And so it's hard to play a character that's it's not really who I am. Uh like if you know, me to if I were to try to play a bruiser that doesn't do a ton of talking, that's not me.
Right.
I don't lift weights enough, and I talk way too much to like for me to just be able to flip that switch and all of a sudden now I'm this character.
Sure.
And it also I feel like that don't do I do things to take us out of the immersion of the role play too, and it's because if sometimes I won't keep up with like a voice, or all of a sudden now my character is going to have this great idea, but it I don't know, I feel like sometimes it just doesn't fit. Like if that's the character you're making, maybe I should like for me to keep quiet is tough sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I could understand that. I try to do role playing in, like I try to dedicate myself to the role play aspect, because I feel like I get like getting over that hump of being comfortable is always the hardest. Um, and in the beginning, like having having a group where nobody's comfortable with the like role playing and putting yourself out there is almost kind of comforting because you're all learning it together, you know. But I have found that if one person in the group, I mean like at least one person, um, really just goes all in on like a voice or like the RP aspect, it almost is encouraging because you're like I'm not going to look like a fool because this person is already doing the thing that I would think that I would be embarrassed doing. And so when I go into a group, I always just try to be so I play a character named Vor, who is a Shatterkai rogue soul knife like build looking deal, right? But he's like I play him like the Sandman from like Netflix and like the books and stuff, and he's very like low voice and very direct, and I will not do this. The only things that I am here for is whatever. And so it's
Killing.
very, yeah.
I'm here for gold.
I'm here for money, dirt, and but it's like it's a very just like a direct, like when someone comes over and says like I want to do this, that, and the other thing, and if Vor wouldn't do it, he'd just no, it's just straight to the point, whatever. But then when we get into like longer conversations, and like I do like I made him kind of like a higher charisma type of thing. He's basically just like a stick to the shadow assassin kind of guy, but also super super skilled in in disguise. So like his true self is very direct, low voice kind of thing, but it also allows me when I do the disguising and my roles, I've specifically built roles to be super super high in the ability to almost like change my look and personality. So when we go and do other things, I can change my character. I can role play as something else just to for the fun of it.
Yeah,
And I think
a lot
like
of options.
yeah, and it's fun to do that because maybe today I'm feeling a little more, goofy. So I might make like, maybe we're going into a town and I'm going to change my character to someone who's a little more lighthearted, a little more egocentric, whatever. And so it allows me to kind of do this. And I understand. I've talked to a lot of people who struggle with the role play and stuff. And I would even say like your role play doesn't have to be a voice. It doesn't have to be something silly. Your character could sound just like this.
Yeah,
Just some of the steps to get into it is just use your voice, but do it in the way that you think your character would do it.
yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's situational too.
Yeah.
Like, what would your character do in certain situations? And I think that the group that you play with, the group with which you play, is a big part of your comfort level.
Did you just grammar correct yourself?
Yeah, I did. In high school, I had Mrs.
Yeah.
Hoffman, and if you
Okay.
ever ended a sentence with a preposition, she had these long fingernails, and she would start clicking them
Oh,
on her desk. And it's like, oh, okay, group with which I used to play.
that's like the for who and for whom thing. It's like
Yeah.
anyway. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. It's something that I would like to work on more as a D&D player is
Yeah.
like getting into the role play more, but it's if I didn't actively seek that out, then again, that would be another aspect to make that it's a hard game for
Yeah.
sure. D&D is a very you have to be able to think critically,
Right. Right.
or it's not going to be as much fun. If you're only thinking about combat, I feel like you just really pigeonhole yourself, and you're taking away like 2/3 of the game.
Yeah. It's really. I think. Oh, excuse me. I think like the three Triforce pillars of D&D, would be like just mechanically understand your character, um, get yourself to a comfortable place with like role playing, and then the rest of the game. Like
Yeah,
it's really not like I think people look at it as D&D is this like huge complicated thing, um, and like say you don't know everything that you're going to do. That's actually probably the most I think maybe in my opinion the most misunderstood part of D&D is that you don't actually have to know everything about everything. What's fun is that you are a player and the DM is just the narrator to a collective story.
Yeah.
There is no winning, there is no losing. So
You win by
having
playing.
right, so having fun with it would be like if I were to, I have a crazy idea. I want to run, that direction. I want to jump off the first two, jetting out rocks of this like cave wall, and I'm gonna jump up, do a double, backflip, and after, halfway through the second backflip, I'm gonna kick the lamp that's hanging off the ceiling with my foot. Everybody would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know. But your DM's job is to go, "Okay, that's what you want to do. Let's find a way to do it." You know. So
Yeah.
you say, like, "Okay, let's make like an acrobatics to be able to run up, jump and jump to do the backflips." I roll, a really well, 18 plus, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you nailed it. You're
Flawless
going
double
out here.
backflip.
Okay, well now I'm trying to hit the, the light and stuff. Okay, well let's see if you, roll to, yeah,
Dexterity
roll
to
dexterity, roll to hit, like
yeah.
whatever. Like it's going to be low, but like let's see if you do it, because there's always the beauty is that there's always a chance that you can fail. And if there's not a chance you can fail, then what are we rolling for? So
Yeah.
like you don't roll every time you walk forward. You know how to do that, right? But if
Right.
if you're the only time you're going to roll is if there's a chance that you can fail. And like success and failure are not like you do it or you don't. It's how well you are doing this. So like maybe, I succeeded on the backflips and they were phenomenal. But I rolled like a nat 1 on like,
Actually
targeting
hitting the
that
lamp.
yeah, that lamp. So, my DM could say you missed the light. All right? You nailed it. So, you missed it, you land, nothing you can do about it, right? Well, what's stopping me from saying I'm going to do it again? Nothing. But what could be fun is that because instead of just walking down the tunnel like my DM wants me to do, and I'm over here being a jackass trying to do jumping jacks and backflips, my DM could be like, "Well, you rolled in that one, you hit the light, but the light lands and spreads oil all over the place, and now the damn cave's on fire, and now we got smoke and elation going on and stuff,
Oh
and now you're
man.
like, oh, now I've caused a whole new situation, and now we're all like, oh, way to
This
go,
is
guy."
pandemonium.
Yeah. So it's like you don't actually have to know what to do or how to roll or what rolls to even roll. Like your DM will figure that out.
Yeah.
Half the fun is not knowing the outcome of what you're doing. That's why, like, I go into every game as a player. I don't plan shit. I don't. Like,
Okay.
unless we ended like in mid battle. It's the only time I'll try to prepare something. Like, I'll be like, okay, this is my abilities. This is what my character can do. Other than that, I don't even think about it because I have more fun in the moment of figuring out what we're doing, and
Same.
that's my
I think that that's the the critical thinking part is what can make D&D so fun,
yeah.
and to just like be creative, and it's also it can be really funny. Like there's a core memory that I have right now, and it's from the first time that we played D&D. All of us are very new, except for one other person, and you mentioned like you don't have to roll to walk, and
Yeah.
somebody says like, oh, I'm gonna saunter on up to the door, and I just purely out of instinct, I'm like, yeah, roll for saunter, and like I wasn't the DM, but
Yeah, but
it was great, and
yeah,
everybody's like, yeah, roll for saunter, and like, man, that's something
right.
that I want to like put on a t-shirt now.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments of that of just like a party being goofy is actually like I don't watch like Critical Role like religiously, but I do enjoy like, every so often sit down like, bust out a couple episodes and stuff, try to like catch up a little bit and stuff. Enjoy it bite by bite on my own time.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where Matthew Mercer, a fantastic DM, is basically watching his players. They're getting goofy. Every group eventually gets a little goofy. You have one session where everybody's a little goofy. And and one of the players wanted to use, I think it was like a speaking stone or something, and was like, "What do I roll for it?" And then rolled the dice. So Matt Mercer didn't like say an answer. and it was like a natural 20, and he was like, wow, yeah, we're natural. Everybody's like, yeah, natural 20, because natural 20s are huge,
Yeah.
yeah, we did
Crit,
it.
crit,
Okay,
crit.
well, I'm gonna do it over here. Well, now you have to roll so we can do this. And and so the other players like, okay, well, I gotta roll. And and it rolls the dice, and it's like, okay, I got like a 6 or something. What do I add to it? What do I add to it? And then they're like, Matt, what do we add to it? And he goes, fucking nothing. You don't roll for this. And they're like, and they just start laughing, and they're like, why'd you let us roll? He's like, I don't, you just started
You
rolling
did it.
dice. Like, yeah,
This wasn't up to me.
I didn't tell you to roll something. You just went nuts and started rolling shit. And I was like, that is a DM moment, because the DM didn't get upset, didn't get angry, it was just like, they're having fun. Let them fucking have fun. That's the
Absolutely.
whole point of us being here. We're not trying to beat something. We are like, we're just being characters,
You work
playing a
together.
game. Yeah, it's a moment. And like that moment never would have happened if Matt was like, stop, what are you doing?
Right. He was, oh, party pooper.
Yeah, exactly.
That's no fun.
Every party has a pooper, and that's why we invited you. So
I've only ever watched, I think, one episode of Critical Role.
yeah,
The only time that I've seen
they're
people,
very long.
I've watched I've mentioned Outside Xbox and Outside Extra.
Mm-hmm.
I watched them play a D&D campaign. I watched a bunch of those, and like, man, it's fun to watch other people, especially when you get together, you have a bunch of people that know each other, and you can like, the comedy like rolls off one
Yeah,
another.
yeah.
Like their one character was a bard, and he's playing this song to like soup up the party, and in the moment he decided that it was the Venga Bus song. Like that's what it was going to
Yeah.
be. The dun, 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 dun. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like really somber, and says the Venga Bus is come, and like
Okay.
I'm sitting in my living room watching this on the television, and I'm like laughing with them. I feel like D&D could be a spectator game in
Oh
some
yeah.
aspects. Well, and I guess Critical Role proves that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Have you? I don't know if I've brought this up to you before. Have you ever heard of Viva La Dirt League?
No.
Okay. I am now this is my Link is Doom guy moment. I get to now like share this to you.
Ooh.
Viva La Dirt League is a group on YouTube, and they make like shorts and skits and everything, and they are so well done. Like easily, probably one of my absolute favorite YouTube like content creators. They are, I think they're based in New Zealand, and they do a lot of like there's like video game logic, like first person shooter logic. There's they do like a whole like short series on like the Witcher and stuff, but it's always like they make a very comical skit based on the things that we quote unquote like hate about games and stuff, right?
Okay.
So it would be like they have one where there's a whole series called Epic NPC Man, and it is one of my absolute favorites. And it's basically like making fun of every like role playing game you've ever played, like in a high stakes like fantasy like world, and then eventually like goes into like D&D like type of logic and everything. And so there's like a moment where you're playing a video game, and then you go to a shopkeep, you buy a potion, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna drink the potion, and then you drink the potion. Where does that glass go? It's never in your inventory. You don't just drop it on the floor. Where does it go? So they have a video where he's like, I just drank the potion. What do I do with this? And he goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, I'm done with the potion. What do I do with this, like the vial? And he goes, you eat it. And he goes, I'm not going to eat it. It's glass. And he goes, what are you talking about? And he takes it and he goes, watch. He goes, ah. And he starts crunching on the glass. His like mouth's bleeding. And he's like, see, simple as that. And he walks away. And I'm like, that skit is brilliant. It is like, it's not too much. It's not too little. It is perfectly made. It is brilliant. Like, honestly, life goal, I would love to go shake their hands. They have brought me so much joy over these. Like I am like, please treat yourself. Look
Viva
them
La
up.
Dirt League.
Viva La Dirt League.
I will,
They are
100%.
so funny. It cracked me up every damn time. So good.
I was wondering what our time was, because I do want to get
Who cares?
into the Zelda timeline.
Dude,
We were
Zelda
talking about
timeline.
D&D. I do love talking about
What
D&D.
what
It's made me want to like make a new character
yeah.
now. I don't. Now I have an idea, and I don't want to say it because in case I play with you,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want it to be a surprise.
Wouldn't it be funny if that was just like our running gag every episode? We're like, and we're gonna get into the Zelda timeline, and it's like episode 26.
Oh, hey, you
Still not.
remember? You remember when we were talking about the Zelda timeline, the abandoned timeline?
Yeah. So I actually sent you a couple videos because like I found them super fascinating and interesting. Um, but there was one that really struck a chord with me. Was I sent you? It was like basically if Legend of Zelda was made today into like a Studio Ghibli film, it was beautiful.
It
Look it up on
was.
YouTube. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful.
It made me immediately think, how hard would it be to take a game like Ocarina of Time? It was they were going through settings in Ocarina of Time
Mm-hmm.
in this video, and how hard would it be to take Ocarina of Time and make it look, have that kind of animation style?
Yeah,
I mean,
it would be
I'm not a
amazing.
video game
Well, and
designer. I bet it would be pretty difficult though.
I even think like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are almost like the kind of that style. They're not full like Studio Ghibli, but they are like that like borderline like anime, cartoon, and realism that have just like met in a very perfect middle.
Absolutely.
I
It,
really do enjoy the designs of those games.
well, and it's a beautiful game. The Everybody knows the intro to Breath of the Wild because
Mm-hmm.
they've gone from Zelda games kind of looking the same for a while,
Right,
or
right.
at least very similar, and then just wham,
Yeah,
like, this is what we're making now.
yeah.
This is your life now. You chose this, and we did, and I'm so glad that we chose. It was such, they're such good games. I'm still, I really need to play Tears of the Kingdom.
You do. That one, I think I said, to you before we, started recording. It is the twist in that game was probably the first moment in a very, very long time playing Legend of Zelda where I was like, "Oh, what?"
The big
Like,
reveal.
yeah, it's so good. Well, I've gone back and I've started playing like some of the games of my childhood. I finally just was like, I got on the Switch for like the first time in like a year, and which I think is probably the last time that I played like Tears of the Kingdom. And I noticed that there was a Nintendo 64 like app square thing, whatever. And I was
Oh,
like, what?
nice.
Yeah, I immediately downloaded it. And I can play the original format, not like the remastered one, the original Nintendo 64 Ocarina of Time. And let me tell you, the joy that it has brought me to like go back to when I was like 9, 10 years old and just
Nostalgia.
oh my god, it is, and I remember so much. But I'll tell you what has been super skewed, and I think I've made this joke for the last 15 years, is that when you leave your village in the very, very, very beginning of the game, after you basically like so you start the game, you meet Navi, which is classically the biggest joke in all of Legend of Zelda communities, which is the hey, listen, and it's the only thing that it ever says, and it's after a while it just gets really annoying, but it's so nostalgic now. But after you get Navi, you go to the Great Deku Tree, and then you go inside and you help the Deku Tree like rid this like curse parasite thing going on, and then the tree's like, I will always do my best to be here for you forever. Oh, just kidding. Wait, no, I'm gonna die right now. And then he just dies, and you're like, all right, well, I guess that's it. So you leave, and then as you're leaving the village, you meet, I think her name's like Sarah or something, but she hands you an ocarina, and she's like, "This is for you because I won't ever say it to your face, but I love you." And you're like, I know what love is, but
I may not
yeah.
be a smart fairy.
So you take this, and like my memory of this game was that basically you ran to the castle, and that's when you found like Zelda being like run away with like the Sheikah and being chased by Ganondorf, and then she throws the ocarina at you, and they basically just take the one you got from Sarah, and you're like, well, I don't fucking need that anymore, and you toss it.
Later, bitch.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I guess this sentiment is no longer needed. Well, now that I'm replaying it, I realize that you don't actually get the Ocarina of Time until you get all three of the stones from each of the, like, you get the water one, the fire one, and the earth one, grass
Before
one,
you
whatever you call it.
become adult Link.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, but I'm playing this game and I forgot how easy the bosses are. Like, you show up and then there's like an eye. It's always an eye, and the eye's
That does
there.
happen quite
Yeah,
a bit.
and then the eye's like right there in your face, and you hit it, and it goes and then it stops, and then it comes at you again, and the eye shows up, and you hit it again. You just do it 3 times. It's like you did it, and I'm like, no one else has figured this out. I'm like, I'm a 10-year-old child who figured out how to defeat these monsters by just poking them in the eye, and then they disappear. And I was like, all right, cool.
No,
But
in that universe, nobody else could do it.
no,
I guess.
Well, in this universe, there's only like 30 people.
That's true.
But yeah, so I'm replaying through it, and I'm just blasting through it. And I got some extra bombs. I've already found the abilities to, like, increase the the bags that I carry. I'm now at the huge wallet where I can carry like 500 rubies and stuff. And then last night before I went to bed, I became adult Link, and now I'm heading over to meet with the forest spirit. So, dude, it's been so nice. I'm gonna go through that, play Majora's Mask, and dude, I'm so excited. I'm just it's so good.
Zelda. It's
Yeah,
so good.
man.
I'm, both have Zelda tattoos.
Yeah, I think I got well, I have the hand one, and then I have, the Triforce, and then I have the Eye of Truth going on there. I like it. It's all right.
It's fine.
It's like, it's all right.
I had some fun playing that game.
But like, I'm looking to play just like timeline by timeline, because that's what we were going to get into next time. No, just kidding. There's
Gotcha, bitch.
But it basically, it all starts with Skyward Sword, and in Skyward Sword, you have the sword it has a spirit, Phi or Fee or whatever you called it,
Yeah.
inside the sword. And then after that, there were a couple of the older games, I think. But all of that basically eventually leads into Ocarina of Time, which was my first introduction to the game.
That's where the three-way split happens.
The split happens at the very end of Ocarina of Time.
See, I thought that one of the splits, so like the video that you sent me about the abandoned timeline.
The fallen timeline. Yeah,
it's there's a timeline when you're a kid,
yes,
and there's a timeline when you're an adult.
Yes,
but it's assuming that you live through those.
Yes, because in the timeline gets really weird, because when you play Ocarina of Time, the game itself, at the end of Ocarina of Time, you defeat Ganondorf, but the world is already in ruins. When you're a child and you get the stones, you go to the Temple of Time, you play the Song of Time, and then you are brought into this the sages, the Chamber of Sages, and they tell you that the Triforce has been broken, and that basically the three members, Zelda, yourself as Link, and Ganondorf, now hold all three of those Triforce parts, and that is basically the structure that unites those three characters throughout all of time. And when you are too, their excuse is that you're too young as a child to be the hero of time,
to wield the Master Sword as the hero of time. Yeah.
So they lock your spirit in the Chamber of Sages for 7 years until you are a full-grown adult at 17. So,
Bazinga.
right. And so then you take the Master Sword, and then you go but now the whole world is pretty much in ruin because Ganondorf got the Triforce of Power and has basically caused the whole world to go to shit. And so in doing so, you have to find a way to take him down. So at the end of the game, you go back to the Temple of Time, and Zelda tells you to go back to the moment that you met Zelda in the first place. The timeline gets all funky because when you go back in time, you are technically going back further than the moment you went to the future.
Yeah.
So you go back to technically the actual very beginning of the game. So the timeline would then break, which would make in one timeline technically makes Majora's Mask the beginning of a timeline because Ocarina of Time never would have happened.
Right. You go. You just leave the Hyrule like right
Right.
away. You go to the Clock Town.
Which also, might I say, also means that you never save the Zora princess, which means she was actually eaten,
Dead.
gobbled up,
Yep.
and dead by
Absolutely.
King Juju or whatever, the big fish.
Yeah. That
Jub
sounds
Jub,
right.
something like that. And then you also do not go and cure the issue with the Gorons.
Oh yeah.
You also then never go and see any of the people in Gerudo Town. The big issue is that going back that far, you actually cause a lot more damage if you think about it.
If that damage though is caused by Ganondorf becoming more powerful, when you do go back, because you give information to Zelda, and they like basically in that universe they would arrest Ganondorf for
Yes,
trying to take over.
right.
Does that then counteract all that evil, or is that just me
It
trying to like shoehorn my way
in
into
in some
this making
ways, in
sense?
some ways, I would say yes, but the Ganondorf getting the Triforce of Power is not the reason that the princess of the Zora gets swallowed by the big fish. Her whole thing is that she just goes and feeds this big ass fish every day, and then the fish got basically like a cold and ate too much and sucked her in with her. And she, for some reason, as a like 7-year-old child, is carrying like the stone of existence for all the water Zora. And so, without Link going into the fish and getting her out, they probably got the stone back eventually, by
When it
natural
once it
causes. But
passed,
yeah, she's definitely dead. Like,
she's fish food.
yeah, 100%.
Well, and so that means Link isn't engaged to her either.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is, well, see, that's the other thing because at the end of that game, Ganondorf is stabbed through the stomach or chest area or whatever, and then is sent to the Twilight Realm, which is where we get Twilight Princess. The issue with this is that in Twilight Princess, there is a moment where you are trained or get knowledge from the first hero of time, which is not one. I think by the time now, I think it actually has been confirmed that that is like the original Link um, from like Legend from Ocarina of Time, which is where like the conflicts start. But he's basically just a skeleton, and he's wearing like royal armor, which then begs the question, like, well, when he finished doing this, like, where did he go? Like, and he says at that time, the skeleton that's training you, that you have the blood that is descendant from the hero of time, and says that he is the original hero of time.
So he's your
So
forebear.
right. So, which means that at some point, Link settled down. Who did he settle down with?
The girl from the ranch.
That's my thing. That's what I've been saying.
What's her name? I can't think of her name right now.
Maria or Medea. I don't know. Um,
The Lon Lon Ranch.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, where like her bosses basically were just like a weird Wish.com of Mario and Luigi. But
Wow.
yeah, they
Yeah.
were 100%. And then yeah, that's why I always just assumed that he just settled down and became like a ranch hand or
Yeah.
something.
Well, he's not going to go and marry the princess. He didn't in this timeline.
Yeah,
He didn't like, or I guess they went back to before he saved anything. So he and Zelda just go their separate ways.
right. Which is why that's just a completely separate timeline in itself. So then you have when Link is like a child, and dude, it is a bonkers timeline. But the point is that at the end of all three timelines, it stops uh, for like the longest time, and then 10,000 years pass, and it's shown that all three timelines are possibilities, but the abandoned timeline's the one that's more like in question with like the fans than the other two. But after that, the hero of time is no longer needed for like 10,000 years. And then, so the reincarnation doesn't happen. So 10,000 years pass. And then the Demon King creates like some stirrups and stuff, which the Demon King is the same one from the very, very beginning of Skyward Sword. And then you get Calamity Ganon, which causes like the big stuff with like Breath of the Wild, and Link is then awoken. Um, but it's weird because in Breath of the Wild, you wake up on a stone tablet and you're like, well, now what? You're like, clearly didn't get reincarnated as a full grown adult and
Yeah.
stuff, but you have no memory. And that's the fun of that game is putting all of those pieces together.
Getting the snapshots, that was like the first
That was a
time.
pain in the ass. That was the one thing I did not like about that game.
It was a bit of a pain. It like I
Because you had to
got
be in that exact spot.
I'm glad that they gave you a little
Oh
like
my god, I
indicator when you
know.
were close by. But like I would run into NPCs every once in a while that like I got pointers from. Otherwise, I never would have found them all.
Yeah.
I only stumbled across like two by accident,
Mm-hmm.
and then other ones I'm like, oh, I guess it's very easy to like figure out
Right.
where this is. Um, love Zelda. I love that this is. I'm now learning all about the Zelda timeline. Um,
I'm actually surprised you've never
I
like
mean,
come
I
across it.
I thought about it before, but it's just the way the Zelda timeline could be whatever I want it to be in my
100%.
head, and
Yes.
that's that is the beauty of it,
Right.
is that it's not up to interpretation, but I guess it is if we're interpreting it different ways. And I do really like the idea of the abandoned timeline, that
Yeah.
if you die between the beginning of Ocarina of Time and the end of Ocarina of Time, but in the adult timeline,
Yes.
if you die in there, then it like you can't be reset back before, and so
Right.
that creates the abandoned timeline.
Right.
That the one video that you sent me about that, with explaining
I
that,
thought it explained it very, very well.
absolutely.
In a way that like I feel like we were all trying to comprehend, but it didn't like it's the connections were there, but we just couldn't put them together,
Yeah.
Um, but the Breath of the Wild I thought was absolutely fantastic. It's seriously was my favorite game until
Tears of
Tears
the
of the
Kingdom.
Kingdom. And the way that Tears of the Kingdom hits is so damn good. Especially like have you seen like do you know anything about Tears of the Kingdom like at all?
Not storyline, no.
But you have seen pictures, right? Where his hands all goofed up.
I've seen that. I've also seen people like I watched a video of somebody like made Godzilla. Like it's about the like making
Oh
of
my god.
machines. They
Yeah,
they just
dude.
made a
Yeah.
life size Godzilla.
The amount so early in the game, like in the game's um existence, like being out to the public, there were glitches that were not patched. And you could basically you have a device that allows you to fuse objects together, right? And so in the game, there's like these ancient technologies, and they were all up in the sky, like all throughout all of this, all the games, right?
Interesting.
And in the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom, it's explained that like the sky is falling because it's like ancient civilization is now like coming down. So we're getting technology that we didn't have previously. And one of the great things about the game is that it was so hyped to be up in the sky, but they never said anything about an underground, and the underground is as big as the map
Ooh.
itself. So you find all this technology all over the place, and then you use the like ability of your hand that you get. No, I'm not going to spoil it and everything, but
Thank you.
it gives you the ability to fuse things. In the beginning of the game's production, or of the public having the game, there were glitches where if you jumped and were able to like shield surf in a certain way, and then before you hit the ground, like moved a thing in your inventory, you could spam the shit out of it and just drop crazy amounts and duplicate like items like a mother lover. Okay.
Okay.
So people were finding, you would find like a diamond, right, which is worth like 500 rubies, and then you would do that once and you get 3, and then you take those and you do that, and now you have 9, and then you do that again, you got 27, you do it again, and people were getting like 999 or 99 whatever, like as the filling inventories, and then you use that, go to a shop, sell it, and then you get the the stuff. Then you go to these people who like these like mechanical beings who like they mine, I think it's called like zonite or something, and then you just collect those, and those became your energy to be able to like fuse things together and run. Like you basically have to put batteries on things to like make things work.
Okay.
So people were finding ways to upgrade that bar to like an insane amount so that they could run insane Godzilla like things.
Mechs,
So people were building like full planes. There's like some guy made the Christian Bale like Batmobile, and it is a tank, dude. It is insane. But like yeah, early in the game, people were making like creations, and then like you would watch these and you're like, this is sick, and then you play and you're like, I can't get the damn sail to sit on this plank of wood so that I can just sail across this river. Like it's so good though. People were finding ways to like, because they don't give you a bike in this one or a horse. No, you do get a horse. Sorry, you don't get the bike like you did in Breath of the Wild for that DLC.
Yeah.
So people have started figuring out that like if you wander too far away, you can't call your horse. You gotta go find another like place to get your horse from, right? So people were like, yeah, forget that. We're just going to keep things in our inventory and make hover bikes. The game was out for like a week. Horses, obsolete.
Oh,
We don't need them.
no
Like,
more Epona.
oh man, dude, it's so
Epona.
good, dude.
Here's your song.
I, man, I want you to play this game so bad. I'm about to like invest in our conversation future, man.
It'll be great. I'll
So
get to.
good.
I'll bring more to the table next
Well,
time.
when you get it, let me know, and I will replay that game.
Hell
I,
yeah.
I will play that game alongside you. It's so damn good. Um, where we
Where are we? Yeah.
12.
What's
My goodness, dude, time absolutely flies.
time's fun when you're having flies.
It well, dude, this has been a delight. It always is a delight to have you on, and
Happy
I
to be back.
even though we hit the timeline, I gotta have you back, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's so these are some of the best conversations
We have
I
so much
get.
more to talk about.
Really do. Good news. No corrections yet on the last episode.
That's good. That's good. I need to. I should go and watch that. I have to look at your other
Well,
episodes too.
you'll enjoy the fact that it doesn't come out in real life until next week.
Oh, good deal.
So it's not even out yet. So
So I
you
can't
can't
even
correct
watch
me yet.
it.
But yeah, it's yeah, we have previous episodes we've had we've had Noah on a couple times. I think the one in by the time you hear this episode, it'll have been a couple of weeks. But the one that had just come out for everyone else was the Mass Effect deep dive with Noah.
Oh, I need to watch that.
I'll tell you what, that one was a struggle for me. Not because of like conversation and everything. It was that I realized how much I did not remember of Mass Effect
For
at
Mass Effect.
all. it was kind of bonkers. And so like I've been playing through it.
It's good that you
I'm
had
playing through it
Noah.
all again. Yeah, and there's a lot of things I said in that episode that I was like, this is my favorite. This is the thing I didn't like, and now I'm playing through it, and I'm like, man, I'm
So
gonna have to
wrong.
make like a short part 2 and be like, I was wrong. That's my bad.
I just want to
Like
come out and
a
apologize.
public
I want to
apology.
say this to my
I am
fans.
so sorry for the things that I have said, and so it's yeah, it's a really good one, and you got to check out the episode with Quinn.
Yeah.
That one was so much fun. I want to get Quinn back on the show. It's gonna be so fun. But um, as far as this, I'm so thankful
Thank you.
that you constantly want to come back and do this.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that
This is a ton of fun.
I'm glad I'm not boring everybody. But if you would, well, I mean, you're still doing the mansion, so
Yep.
why don't you throw some deets out there?
Oh yeah. Moonstone Manor is it's the bed and breakfast that I work at. It's also a wedding venue. We're kind of in the middle of wedding season right now. It's been, it's we stay pretty busy, but especially during the weekdays, if you're somebody that has an irregular, not a Monday through Friday schedule, and you're looking for something random to do during the week, and you want, a fun place to stay and a good breakfast, hit us up, please. Moonstonemanor.com.
Dude,
It's that
and
easy.
you make like what, steak, eggs, lobster, you make like a 3-tier cake for
I
everybody
I
every
do
morning
love my
fresh.
my French toast. I will brag about my French toast. Oh, I just kicked the camera. Uh, but yeah, it's a really fulfilling job. I'm learning a lot of new things. I don't sit in an office all day,
Hell yeah.
and it's fun for me to learn new things. It's a part of business that I never thought that I'd be involved in, and
Yeah.
it does my schedule is a lot more liquid than it used to be. Instead of like I worked the last 2 days more than I did like the week prior, just because of like getting ready for the
Right.
actual event, and then from 10 a.m. until 10 a.m. or like 9 a.m. the following day, we're on. Like we're there. We're taking calls if we need to.
Do people hold like the after part? I never remember what it's called. I am married
Like
and
a
I did one.
reception.
There we go.
Yeah,
At the manor itself too.
yeah. There's a big pavilion outside, and so yeah, anything that is 250 people or less, we can have the event there.
Oof,
Yeah,
it's a lot of people to have at a wedding.
it's sometimes you get some big
I
weddings.
bet.
It's wild. It's it's a whole new ball game. It's something I never thought about before. I'm still learning a lot, but it's a lot of fun.
You know what? I do want to have you on for another episode because I do want to have a conversation. I want to go into some of that stuff just
Okay.
because I'm curious, and I think it'd be really fun to like we've shared stories and stuff before and stuff, and I've always really enjoyed them. I think it'd be really fun to have it on the podcast. What you can and cannot say because it's a tricky business, bro.
Yeah. Well, and it's still uh, it's a customer service
Yeah.
business, and we try to be as accommodating as possible. But the amount of people that are given paperwork and just don't ever read it, it makes me
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a lot, but you just got to roll with it. Sometimes I remember the times when I got a super long email and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But if it was important, I would absolutely read it all.
Listen, every time Apple has a new update, read your terms and conditions. I'm like, fuck that.
There's a whole South Park episode about
Yeah, it
that.
is. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk about real quick.
Yeah.
I was watching I think that they're getting ready for Summer Games Done Quick, and they released a game, GDQ Games Done Quick. They released a guy that was playing Alien Isolation. He was speedrunning it
I
in a
remember that.
certain category, and very good, very funny. Also, love that game. Never played it. I watched it be played, and I would do it again.
Damn, there was a game I wanted to bring up. I feel like we have to bring it up just really quick, and then
Please.
and then we'll close out. I've
And then
only
we're
actually,
done forever.
I've only talked to one person who actually has played this game. Time Splitters.
Wait,
It was like PlayStation 2, I think. It was like real early. It was like basically if like Vin Diesel from like Reddit was a time traveler. And it is so goofy and dumb. It is my favorite shit. Like, it is my favorite game, dude.
I
Like,
don't.
it's
I
have
think
you
that
never all
I've
right.
heard of it. I
Yeah.
know that I've heard the name before. I don't think I ever played it.
I'm going to find a way to play this game again, and if honestly all else fails, I'm gonna find it on YouTube and watch like a playthrough, because I think there was like 2 or 3 games, and it
Time
is
Splitters.
so funny.
Wait, is Time Splitters an arcade series? Wasn't it originally an
Yeah.
arcade game and then it came to
Not a
PlayStation?
clue, not a clue. I just it looks like it looks like Vin Diesel with the Riddick like glasses,
Glasses.
and he just time splits, like time jumps all through, and so like each level is like you go to like a haunted mansion, and like there's like commentaries like always so stupid and goofy and stuff, and then like he'll go into
Stupid
like
like Duke Nukem level stupid?
not as offensive.
Okay. That's
Like, but he'll like go into areas and he'll be like, well, this place has probably got a lot of dead people, and you're like, yeah, it's a graveyard, like we got that, and then like
everybody's dying to
yeah,
get in.
or like you'll be like going through like a haunted mansion area, and he'll be like, you ever get that feeling that you're just constantly being watched, and then like eyes will just be like, whoop, kind of thing. It's just goofy, like dad joke filled kind of thing, but like you run into like
Nice.
scientists, and like you're trying to like I actually genuinely don't even remember what you're trying to do in the game,
You're trying to
but
split
it's yeah, it
time.
is it is so funny, and I love it so much, and I want to go back and play, because I remember playing that game and like finding out there wasn't another one like after I played like 2 of them, and was just genuinely bummed out, was
Oh
like, oh,
man.
this sucks, like I want to keep playing this game, like it's so good.
When you brought that up, I thought of a game that was on PS2. I remember specifically PS2 because it used the pressure sensitive R2 and L2 triggers,
Yeah.
and it was like you had psychic powers. It was also a first person shooter.
Was it
Oh,
like not it wasn't like Infamous
no.
or the other one.
Uh what
Dude,
other one?
Infamous and Prototype came out at the same time. For like the longest time, I thought those were the same damn game.
Never played Prototype.
I didn't play either of them.
I've only ever I played Infamous Second Son.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic game, and it's a game where I guess all of the Infamous games you have the good versus bad
Yeah,
choices, but Infamous Second Son, I loved it.
I
Actually,
never.
that may have been for only PS3
It might have.
or PS4.
I just saw a little while ago that the PlayStation Pass thing that I have has all of them, Infamous and Prototype. So I might go and just like check them all out and play them.
Play Infamous Second Son. It's actually I loved the storyline,
Yeah.
and I played as the good guy. If you're the bad guy, that I will say like the ending is the worst.
Oh, I
Like it is
bet.
a bad ending.
Like bad quality, or like it's like
You are bad.
you are the bad guy.
Yep, you fully go like dark side. Not even in the fun way, dark side. Like
Mm.
I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'll play it. I'll play it.
it's
It'll be
a
on my list.
it's a game that gets you invested,
Maybe
and then
I'll stream it. So I'm looking at going into getting into streaming. Just for some shits and giggles. Just to play some games, talk to the community, and have just a good time. I mean, I do the podcast and I play games.
yeah, why not?
Why not?
What's more to love?
Yeah, why not just merge those two together? So, but yeah, we definitely have to close this one out. We have to do another episode. There is, so please go check out Moonstone Manor. I'll throw the links in the description. Guys, we are growing. We are doing our best to get more platforms and such out there.
You got a new camera?
Yeah, if you notice, we're on a different angle now. Got a different camera. Kind of also in prep for doing the streaming stuff. But you come check us out. Follow us on TikTok, Who What Now Pod, on Instagram for the Who What Now Pod. You can find me on Instagram at Phoenix Stewart. You can find we're on. Oh, I said Instagram already. I'm gonna throw all the links in the description. You can find us in so many different places. You can find the podcast anywhere you find podcasts, and check us out on YouTube at Who What Now Gaming. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. It really does help the algorithm get the show out to more listeners, and more ears, just so that we can, more of a community to, chit chat and have fun conversations with. But other than that, Tom, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure's all mine.
We absolutely are doing another one, and I would love to schedule, a couple out there with you. I would actually love to get you and Noah on at the same time. I think that would be a really fun conversation.
Absolutely.
So
That'll be a 3-hour episode.
so
Maybe
good.
not 3.
Maybe we'll just do a day and record 2 episodes and then just split it.
Cut it right in half.
Yeah, if you ever see us wearing the exact same clothes back to back, you'll know why.
It's funny you mentioned that. I almost wore the same shirt that I wore for the first.
I almost wore the Zelda one. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.